There are two groups of people in your life, and what is strange, what is genuinely worth stopping to examine, is that these two groups do not share even a remotely similar perception of who you are. One group thinks you are difficult, intense, too much, possibly cold, maybe even dangerous in some way they cannot quite explain. Not because you have harmed anyone, but because something about you does not respond the way they expect. You do not fold when pressure is applied. You do not perform when performance is expected. You do not minimize yourself just to make the room more comfortable. The other group sees you completely differently. To them, you are the safest person they have ever been around. Steady, rare, the kind of presence people reach for when everything around them begins to fall apart. When the pressure rises and emotions run high, they know something about you will remain calm. They know you will not panic. You will not project your own fears onto them, and you will not make their crisis about yourself. Same person, two radically different perceptions. And the gap between those perceptions is not random. It reveals something about the internal structure you have built over time, often without realizing you are building it. The contradiction between how people see you is not a flaw that needs fixing. It is a signal that something deeper has taken shape inside you. There is a concept in personality research called self-complexity. It describes a person who holds a rich, internally grounded sense of identity, rather than depending on the opinions of others to define who they are. People with this trait are not immune to criticism or rejection. They feel those things like anyone else. The difference is that their sense of self does not collapse when one relationship or one social environment turns hostile. When external conditions shift, the internal structure remains steady. You likely developed this ability gradually, not because someone sat you down and taught you how to build it, but because life placed you in situations where relying on the opinions of others became impossible. Over time, you learned that your identity could not be anchored to people who had no access to your inner reality. So you built an interior world that could stand without their approval. That shift is exactly what creates the contradiction in how people perceive you. Those who find you difficult are often people who are used to their interpretation of others going unchallenged. They are accustomed to social pressure producing compliance. When tension appears, most people soften their position, adjust their behavior, or perform a version of themselves that keeps the environment comfortable. But you do not automatically do that anymore. Not because you do not care about people, but because you learned through experience that constant adjustment rarely leads anywhere meaningful. It simply creates more pressure. So at some point, quietly and internally, you stopped allowing external discomfort to rewrite your understanding of what is true. And the people who value you most recognize something powerful in that. They see a steadiness that is not dependent on the mood of the room. They experience a presence that remains grounded even when everything else becomes chaotic. For them, you represent a kind of reliability that is difficult to find. What creates the split between these two perceptions is not personality alone. It is the fact that at some point, you stopped participating in certain relational patterns that many people around you still follow automatically. These patterns are rarely malicious. They are simply systems of interaction built on unspoken rules. Rules like the idea that the most agreeable person should receive the most approval, or that emotional intensity deserves the most attention. or that maintaining your position under social pressure means something must be wrong with you. Most people move through these systems unconsciously. They adapt to each environment without realizing how much they are reshaping themselves in order to fit its expectations. You became aware of those patterns, and once awareness appeared, automatic compliance stopped. That is what the first group is reacting to when they describe you as difficult or cold. What they are really experiencing is the disruption of a system that depends on everyone participating in the same unspoken rules. When someone stops following those rules, the system notices. From the perspective of systems theory, your presence becomes disruptive, not because you are causing harm, but because you expose how much the system relies on everyone adjusting themselves in predictable ways. The second group responds differently. These are people who have begun to see those patterns for themselves. They may not have fully escaped them yet, but they recognize the effort required to remain present without being absorbed by them. In you, they see the same quality they are trying to cultivate, the ability to stay grounded under relational pressure. Psychologist Murray Bowen described this ability as differentiation of self. It is the capacity to maintain your identity, values, and emotional balance while still remaining connected to other people. Differentiation does not mean detachment or isolation. It means caring about others without losing the thread of your own perspective. It means remaining present in relationships without needing constant validation from the system around you. This capacity is rare. Most people, especially those raised in emotionally intense environments, develop habits of emotional fusion. They absorb the moods of others, react to pressure automatically, and rely on group approval to maintain stability. True differentiation usually forms through hardship. It is not something a person learns through theory alone. It emerges from lived experience, from moments where holding your ground felt risky but necessary. Each time you remain steady under pressure, your nervous system learns something new. The internal threshold for what counted as a genuine threat shifted. Situations that once felt overwhelming became manageable. What once required enormous effort eventually became something closer to your natural resting state. Neuroscience supports this process. Repeatedly regulating emotional reactions under stress builds new neural pathways. Over time, these pathways reshape how the brain processes pressure and conflict. That is why people respond to you so differently. Those who are accustomed to emotional environments where everyone mirrors each other's reactions find your stability uncomfortable. Your presence interrupts the usual feedback loop of shared anxiety. But those who carry heavy burdens often find your presence calming, because you do not amplify the pressure they already feel. The contradiction in how people perceive you is therefore not a mistake. It is information. The people who find you difficult are responding to the fact that you do not behave the way their environment trained them to expect. They interpret your steadiness as rejection or hostility because the framework they use to understand people cannot explain it. You are not too much. You simply exceed the limits of the frame they are using. The people who feel safe with you are recognizing something real. The calm they experience in your presence is not a performance. It is the result of difficult seasons that forced you to develop emotional strength in ways you never planned. What they are sensing is the structural integrity left behind after those seasons ended. Over time, experiences like these teach something important. Unanimous approval is not the price of authenticity. When you stop trying to meet every expectation in every room, some connections fall away. But the connections that remain become far more honest. Instead of being built on comfort, they are built on truth. And truth, while sometimes less comfortable, creates relationships that are far more stable. The deeper reality behind this process is that hardship can become architecture. Psychological research on post-traumatic growth shows that adversity does not automatically create strength. What matters is how a person engages with the experience. Some people suppress pain or project it outward. Others choose to sit with the disruption long enough for insight to form. When pain is processed rather than avoided, it reorganizes how a person understands themselves and the world. Many of the people who find you difficult may still be operating on emotional patterns developed long ago. They are responding to the present using frameworks designed for situations that no longer exist. You changed those frameworks. Not because you believed you were better than anyone else, but because your circumstances required it. That is the transformation both groups are sensing. One group feels unsettled by the level of internal change they have not yet chosen for themselves. The other group feels drawn to it because it shows them what is possible. And as you continue this path, the contradiction in how people perceive you may not disappear. In fact, it may become clearer. Clarity tends to create division. When someone becomes firmly rooted in who they are, it reveals the assumptions others have been using without question. Some people will misread you, but misreading is not evidence that you should shrink yourself to become easier to understand. If a frame is too small to contain what you are, the solution is not to reduce yourself until you fit inside it. The existence of people who feel safe in your presence does not require you to perform or become something different from who you are. It is not the result of carefully managing how others see you. Instead, it reflects something much simpler and far more powerful. The quiet impact of someone choosing to live with authenticity. When a person stops shaping themselves to meet every expectation in the room, something interesting happens. Some people feel uncomfortable, even unsettled. Others feel relief. The difference lies in what each person is searching for. Those who value honesty and steadiness recognize something real in you. What you carry forward from this realization is not a strategy for how to behave or how to manage people's opinions. It is a reminder. The qualities others respond to in you, both the ones who appreciate your presence and the ones who find it challenging, are the natural result of the path you have walked. They were not borrowed, and they were not given to you by approval. They were built through experience. Self-awareness is not a final destination you eventually reach. It is an ongoing practice. It requires the willingness to observe your patterns, question your assumptions, and remain open to growth without becoming trapped in self-doubt or self-importance. The contradiction in how others see you is not something you need to fix. It is simply a signal that the work you have done is real. Trust the steadiness you built and keep building. This is the inner calling. I will see you in the next one.